If bad actors tell us falsely that every election is stolen and that the only way an election is trustworthy is if they come out on top of it, then something, it tells you something not just about that person or that moment.
Welcome to this week's Wacky Moments of Leftist Extremism. Now this week, the leftist media just created an upside-down bizarro world in an attempt to make their political agenda work. MSNBC's Chris Hayes encouraged Democrats to run and campaign on their high inflation.
So, President Biden, any other Democrat in politics, some free advice. I understand you're kind of reluctant to bring up inflation when it's still a little higher than everyone would like it to be, but 3.2% is a lot less than 8.3%, and everyone knows that. Go out and tell everyone.
What he doesn't want anyone to know is that inflation was 1.4% before Biden took office. Americans are now spending more than $700 per month than they were 2 years ago for the same goods and services. So Hayes is urging Democrats to run on that great inflation record, which seems about as bright as having two-time presidential loser Hillary Clinton on your show to whine about how denying the results of elections is a terrible thing.
If bad actors tell us falsely that every election is stolen and that the only way an election is trustworthy is if they come out on top of it, then something, it tells you something not just about that person or that moment. It maybe wounds us as a democracy in a way that is hard to repair.
But is it as hard to repair as, say, the damaged memory of those hosting shows on MSNBC?
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to question the results of an election. That's just bad.
What do you think about how we get better after the wounds that have been inflicted on us through this process?
Well, I think, the truth matters.
It does, but the truth won't be found on MSNBC. Instead, you'll find mind-numbing moments like this.
The whole question of where we are in history. One day, some young lady is going to look at your picture the way you look at Thurgood's picture and John Lewis' picture. What do you hope they look at and say?
I hope they say that they will say, I can do anything, even if it hasn't been done before. I will not be burdened by what has been. I will believe in what can be.
Wow, that is so original, so inspiring, so unburdened by the past.
What can be, unburdened by what has been.
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 What we can see, what we believe can be, unburdened by what has been.
What can be, unburdened by what has been.
Yeah, that statement is from the past, and it's repeated perpetually. It's almost like pulling the string on a plastic doll.
Let's just see what she says this time.
What can be, unburdened by what has been.
Let's be honest, the dolls at least say 2 or 3 different lines. Kamala only comes with that one line.
Who saw what could be, unburdened by what had been.
CNN became unburdened from the truth this week, hosting fired librarian Terry Leslie on Thursday. Now there, she was allowed to falsely state that none of the books in the library that she ran contained any sexually explicit material.
For people who are trying to contextualize what's happening, because it seems like a pretty mass escalation over a short period of time related to a library and books, the concerns about sexually explicit content and its availability to minors or to younger people, what kind of books were these? Why is there any merit to those concerns?
There is nothing in the library that could be classified as pornography.
Nothing except the books that CNN showed at the beginning of the segment. A sexually explicit comic book, a book that features information on orgies and instructions on anal sex. You know, the stuff that leftists love to put in the hands of minors. The community was concerned and they fund her paycheck and they took action, but, push an agenda, ignore the facts. That's what the leftist media likes to do. In fact, MSNBC hosted Professor Marvin Dunn this week to discuss his opposition to Florida's new history standards on slavery. Dunn claims one of the experts that wrote the standards is a Republican, an anti-Semite who once thanked God for slavery. There's just one problem. That woman is an elected Democrat.
These are Clarence Thomas type extreme Republican blacks who are feeding these things to the governor. One of these people, one of these scholars that DeSantis is relying upon, says she's grateful for slavery, that she would be in Africa someplace worshiping a tree. She says Jews own everything.
Oh, not only is State Rep Kimberly Daniels a Democrat, she opposes the standards put forth by DeSantis. But don't expect MSNBC to correct their guess. They certainly wouldn't want any truth getting on their set. Their lies are pristine. You don't want to smudge them.
Because Bidenomics is actually working. Is that how you read it?
I think that's exactly right, Joy. They are trying to deflect attention from the fact that the economy is great. It's the Goldilocks economy, I'll tell you.
Such a good economy. It's Goldilocks. He just must have blacked out the last few years before Biden was president. Despite the media's best efforts, the approval rating on Biden remains low. But now they've figured out why.
You know why they're thinking that way? Because they've been fed a steady diet, anti-Hunter Biden, anti-Biden family diet for months, if not years.
Yeah, there's just been too much negative coverage of the Biden family over the years. That's the problem. They just haven't focused enough on Trump. That's clearly a concern. I mean, it's upsetting that voters actually care about things like the economy and their families and not the leftist media's endless coverage of Trump.
How do they get voters to focus on the substance of some of these indictments as many times as we use the word unprecedented?
Why won't you just listen to them? I mean, they're using the word unprecedented, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, we're in this bizarre moment, of course.
Of course, they don't want to hear about the unprecedented alias email, Robert L. Peters, an alias that was once used by a sitting vice president in connection with giving Hunter Biden his daily schedule, especially when he was visiting certain foreign countries where his son had business interests. It's unprecedented, but don't expect the leftist networks to bring that up. They only want to listen to themselves.
Mika wanted to talk to me about what somebody was saying on another cable news channel. And it was
important to know what other people are saying and hearing and ingesting.
8 at night, and I was
disinformation.
Listening to some music to kind of forget about the day, the news day. And I said, we don't need to hear what they say. Doesn't matter what they say.
They don't want to hear facts and other points of view. Those don't matter. There's an election they have to influence.
How do they get voters to focus on the substance of some of these indictments as many times as we use the word unprecedented?
I'm Eric Schneider from MRCTV, asking you to make an unprecedented move to the MRC homepage. Click on donate to help keep videos like this one coming. Visit MRCTV.org for the latest in videos, information, and entertainment. Like, share, and subscribe to these videos on the platforms that let you see us. Rumble has the complete uncensored MRCTV video collection. And we'll be back next week with another look at leftist media madness.